The call came at 11:47 p.m. Tokyo time. I was standing in my hotel room, exhausted from 16 hours of negotiations, when my phone vibrated against the nightstand. The name on the screen made my stomach drop. Brandon Winters, CEO. He never called this late unless something catastrophic had happened. I answered, "Brandon, is everything okay?" His voice was cold, detached, wrong. "Rachel, effective immediately, your employment is terminated. Your corporate accounts have been deactivated. Do not contact anyone at the company." The line went dead. My name is Rachel Donovan, and in that moment, standing alone in a foreign country 8,000 miles from home, I learned that loyalty is a currency some people spend without ever intending to repay. 3 days later, the company's biggest investor froze $340 million in committed funds, and the empire Brandon built on lies began to crumble beneath him. But before I tell you how that happened, you need to understand what led me to that hotel room in Tokyo, and why being fired might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. Before we go further, I want to pause for just a second. If you've ever felt abandoned by people you trusted, or if you've ever wondered whether doing the right thing actually matters, this story is for you. What happens next is going to get intense, emotional, and honestly pretty satisfying. If you want to see how this unfolds, hit that subscribe button. I promise this journey is worth it. Now, let's get back to that phone call that changed everything. 6 weeks before Brandon fired me, I was sitting in the Seattle headquarters of Meridian Global Solutions, reviewing the Tokyo expansion proposal. The company specialized in international logistics consulting, and I had spent 4 years building our Asia-Pacific division from the ground up. I was 36 years old, a single mother to a 7-year-old daughter named Sophie, and I had sacrificed everything to prove myself in a male-dominated industry. Late nights, missed recitals, holidays spent on airplanes. Every sacrifice felt worth it, because I believed in what we were building. Brandon had called me into his office that afternoon. "Rachel, I need you in Tokyo for 3 weeks. Yamada Industries is ready to finalize the partnership, but they'll only sign if you're there to oversee the transition personally." I frowned. 3 weeks is a long time. Can we compress it? "Not if we want this deal," he said. "They trust you, no one else." I thought about Sophie, about missing her school play and her birthday, but I also thought about the $80 million contract that would secure our expansion for the next 5 years. "I'll make it work," I said. Brandon smiled. "That's why you're invaluable, Rachel. You always come through." I should have questioned that smile. It was too easy, too satisfied, like he was relieved I had agreed to something he already knew would cost me more than a few weeks away from home. The first 2 weeks in Tokyo went smoothly. Yamada Industries was impressed with the operational framework I presented. Their CFO, Kenji Nakamura, told me directly, "You understand our culture. Your team does not. That is why we trust only you." I spent 14-hour days in their offices, navigating translation barriers, cultural nuances, and technical specifications. At night, I video-called Sophie, watching her show me drawings she made at school while fighting the exhaustion that pulled at my eyelids. "Mommy, when are you coming home?" she asked during one call. "Soon, baby. I promise." My mother, who was staying with Sophie, gave me a look through the screen. "Rachel, she misses you. We all do." "I know," I said quietly. "Just a little longer." But during that second week, something shifted. I noticed discrepancies in financial transfers that didn't align with the contracts I had negotiated. Payments were being routed through subsidiary accounts I didn't recognize, and the amounts were inflated by nearly 30%. I called Brandon. "There's something off with the fund allocations. Can you walk me through the accounting structure?" There was a pause. "Rachel, focus on closing the deal. Finance will handle the back end." "But these numbers don't match what we presented to Yamada. If they audit this, they won't," he interrupted. "You're overthinking it. Stay on task." The call ended abruptly, leaving me staring at spreadsheets that told a story Brandon didn't want me to read. I should have stopped there. I should have let it go. But I had built my reputation on integrity, and something about those numbers gnawed at me like a warning I couldn't ignore. I started digging. Late at night in my hotel room, using my personal laptop to access archived financial records, I pieced together a pattern. For the past 18 months, Meridian had been siphoning funds from international contracts into offshore accounts. The money was supposed to go toward operational costs, but it was disappearing into entities that didn't exist on any legitimate corporate structure. Someone was stealing, and they were using the partnerships I had built to do it. I documented everything. Screenshots, transaction logs, email threads. I saved it all to a secure cloud account and forwarded a summary to myself at 3 different email addresses. Then I made the call that sealed my fate. Brandon, we need to talk. I found something. His voice was sharp. What did you find? Discrepancies. Large ones. I think someone's been moving money through our international accounts without authorization. Silence. Rachel, where are you right now? In my hotel. Why? Stay there. Don't discuss this with anyone. I'll call you back. He didn't call back. Instead, 11 hours later, I received the termination call that left me stranded 8,000 miles from home with no access to company resources, no return flight, and a corporate credit card that declined when I tried to pay for breakfast the next morning. I sat on the edge of my hotel bed, staring at my phone, trying to process what had just happened. Fired. Without warning. Without explanation. And worse, abandoned in a foreign country with no way to get home. I called my personal bank. My checking account had $1,847. Enough for maybe a week if I was careful. Not enough for a last-minute international flight. I called the airline. The soonest available flight to Seattle is in 6 days, and it's $3,200. I didn't have $3,200. I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. Rachel, what time is it? Mom, I need help. I explained everything. The firing, the stranded situation, the fear that was starting to claw its way up my throat. She was quiet for a long moment. How much do you need? I don't know yet. Maybe 3,000? I'll pay you back as soon as... Stop. I'll send it today. Just get home safe. Tears burned my eyes. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, feeling the weight of betrayal settle over me like a blanket I couldn't shake off. Brandon hadn't just fired me. He had tried to erase me. But he had made one critical mistake. He assumed I would disappear quietly. If you're still with me, drop the word loyalty in the comments. Let me know you understand what it feels like to be thrown away by people who should have protected you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because what happens next is going to blow your mind. I spent the next 2 days trying to survive in Tokyo while figuring out my next move. My mother wired the money, and I booked a flight home for the end of the week. But something kept pulling at me, a thread I couldn't let go. Brandon hadn't fired me because of budget cuts or restructuring. He fired me because I had seen something I wasn't supposed to see. And if he was willing to strand me overseas to keep me quiet, that meant whatever I had uncovered was worse than I realized. I called Kenji Nakamura, the CFO of Yamada Industries. Kenji, I need to ask you something off the record. Have you noticed anything unusual about the payment structures we've been using? He hesitated. Why do you ask? Because I think there's a problem, and I think you deserve to know about it before you sign anything. We met at a small cafe in Shibuya. I brought my laptop and walked him through everything I had found. The inflated invoices, the ghost accounts, the offshore transfers. His expression darkened as he listened. This is fraud. Yes. He closed the laptop. Rachel, if this is true, we cannot proceed with Meridian. Our company cannot be associated with financial misconduct. I understand. He studied me carefully. Why are you telling me this? You no longer work for them. Because you trusted me, I said, and I won't let that trust be weaponized against you. Kenji nodded slowly. You are a rare person, Rachel Donovan. Most would stay silent. Most people haven't been abandoned in a foreign country for trying to do the right thing. He stood. Give me 24 hours. I will make some calls. I didn't know what that meant, but I trusted him. The next morning, my phone rang. The number was international, but not one I recognized. Ms. Donovan? The voice was smooth, confident, unmistakably American. My name is Elliot Grayson. I'm the managing partner of Grayson Capital. I believe we need to talk. My heart stopped. Elliot Grayson wasn't just any investor. He was Meridian's largest financial backer, responsible for over $340 million in committed funds. He was the reason we had expanded internationally in the first place. Mr. Grayson, how did you get my number? Kenji Nakamura reached out to me. He's concerned about some financial irregularities at Meridian, and he mentioned you might have information. I took a breath. I do. Tell me everything. I spent the next hour walking Elliot through every detail: the ghost accounts, the offshore transfers, the suspicious payment structures, the way Brandon had fired me the moment I started asking questions. Elliot listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment. Ms. Donovan, do you have documentation? Yes. Everything. Send it to me. All of it. I forwarded the files immediately. Another pause. Then, how soon can you get back to the States? I have a flight in 3 days. Cancel it. I'm sending a private jet to pick you up tomorrow morning. We need you in Seattle for an emergency board meeting. My hands were shaking. Mr. Grayson, I don't work for Meridian anymore. You do now, he said. Consider yourself rehired. And Rachel? Thank you for not staying silent. The line went dead, and I sat in my hotel room, stunned. In 72 hours, I had gone from being fired and abandoned to being flown home on a private jet by the one person who could actually hold Brandon accountable. Justice, it turned out, had a tendency to move quickly when the right person was paying attention. Okay, we're at the turning point now, the part where everything flips. If you're loving this, if you can't wait to see what happens when Rachel walks back into that company, make sure you're subscribed. The revenge is about to get incredibly satisfying. Let's keep going. The private jet landed in Seattle 36 hours after Elliot's call. A car was waiting on the tarmac, sleek and black, and it took me directly to Meridian's headquarters. I hadn't been inside the building in 4 days, but it felt like a lifetime. Elliot met me in the lobby. He was older than I expected, maybe mid-50s, with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. He shook my hand firmly. Ms. Donovan, thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing me back. He gestured toward the elevators. The board is convening in 20 minutes. I want you to present everything you found. No filters, no softening. They need to see this exactly as you did. My stomach tightened. Will Brandon be there? Elliot's smile was cold. Oh, yes, he'll be there. The boardroom was on the top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. When I walked in, every seat was filled. Board members I recognized, legal counsel, auditors. And at the head of the table, looking like a man who hadn't slept in days, was Brandon Winters. His eyes locked on mine, and the color drained from his face. What is she doing here? He demanded. Elliot took his seat. Ms. Donovan is here at my request. Sit down, Brandon. Brandon remained standing. She was terminated for insubordination. She has no business. Sit down. Elliot's voice didn't rise, but the command in it was absolute. Brandon sat. Elliot nodded to me. Ms. Donovan, please proceed. I opened my laptop and connected it to the projector. The first slide appeared on the screen, a summary of the offshore accounts and the total amount transferred over 18 months. $47 million, I said, my voice steady. That's how much has been siphoned from international contracts through fraudulent payment structures. The money was routed through subsidiary accounts that don't appear on any official corporate ledger. A board member leaned forward. Who authorized these transfers? I pulled up the next slide. Email chains, authorization codes, digital signatures. Brandon Winters, I said. And CFO Michael Kern. Michael, sitting 3 seats down from Brandon, went pale. This is absurd, Brandon snapped. She's fabricating evidence because she's bitter about being fired. Elliot didn't look at him. Ms. Donovan, continue. I walked them through everything. The ghost companies. The inflated invoices sent to clients like Yamada Industries. The way legitimate operational funds were being rerouted and replaced with fictional expenses. By the time I discovered this, I said, Meridian had defrauded its international partners of nearly $50 million. and when I tried to report it, I was terminated and abandoned overseas without resources or support. The room was silent. One of the auditors spoke up. "We'll need to verify these claims." Elliot slid a folder across the table. "Already done? I had an independent forensic team review Ms. Donovan's documentation over the past 48 hours. Everything checks out." Brandon stood abruptly. "This is a setup. She's working with competitors to sabotage." "Sit down, Brandon," Elliot said again. This time his voice was ice. "Or I will have security remove you." Brandon sat. His jaw clenched. Elliot turned to the board. "Effective immediately, I am freezing all committed funds from Grayson Capital until this matter is resolved. That's $340 million. Without that capital, Meridian cannot meet payroll, operational expenses, or contractual obligations." The room erupted, board members shouting over each other. Michael trying to explain. Brandon slamming his hand on the table. Elliot raised a hand, and the chaos stopped. "There will be a full investigation," he said. "Anyone found complicit will be removed and prosecuted. This company was built on trust, and that trust has been destroyed. The only person in this room who tried to protect it was the one you threw away." He looked at me. "Ms. Donovan, I'd like to offer you a position as Interim Chief Compliance Officer, reporting directly to me. Your job will be to rebuild the integrity of this organization from the ground up. Full authority. No interference." I looked at Brandon. His face was a mask of fury and defeat. "I accept," I said. Elliot stood. "Good. Let's get to work." As the board filed out, Brandon stopped beside me. "You just destroyed everything I built." I met his eyes. "No, Brandon. I just stopped you from destroying everyone else." He walked out, and I never saw him again. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Brandon and Michael were terminated, then arrested. Federal investigators seized records. Clients were notified and reimbursed. The company restructured under new leadership, and I rebuilt. I hired a team of analysts who valued transparency over politics. I implemented protocols that required multi-level approval for any financial transfer. I worked with Yamada Industries to restore the partnership under honest terms. Elliot checked in weekly. "You're doing remarkable work, Rachel." "I'm just finishing what I started." One evening, I video called Sophie from my new office. She was wearing a tiara, grinning at the camera. "Mommy, guess what? Grandma says you're a hero." I smiled. "I'm just your mom, baby." "Can heroes come home for my birthday?" "Yes," I said. "I'll be there, I promise." And I was. Looking back, being fired and stranded in Tokyo was the worst night of my life. But it was also the moment I learned that my integrity was worth more than any job, any paycheck, any false sense of security. Brandon thought he could erase me. He thought abandoning me overseas would silence the truth. Instead, it gave me the clarity to fight back without fear. Because when you've already lost everything, you have nothing left to lose. 3 days after he fired me, his empire collapsed. Not because of me, because of him. I just made sure the truth couldn't stay buried. And that's a power no one can take away. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? What did you do? Drop your story in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And if this story inspired you, if it reminded you that doing the right thing always matters even when it costs you everything, subscribe to this channel. We're just getting started, and the next story is going to hit even harder. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.